With the new year rolling around and us plunging into 2024, January is usually a time for reflecting on the previous year and looking forward. Whether you're still planning your New Year's resolutions, already starting them, or already gave up, the start of the year always gives most people motivation to achieve something during the next 365 days. For some, it could be something relatively realistic and or grounded, like going to the gym more or working on your own mental health. But for others, setting goals are more akin to achieving one's dreams and aspirations, setting their sights so high on something that it would sound utterly insane to the average person. As I got older, I've definitely noticed a decrease of the latter type, even within my own friends. Not to discredit those who set realistic and grounded goals, as I think those are definitely important to being able to work towards something great, but I just think that having and maintaining a dream that you want to work towards despite everything else is honestly a blessing, and is becoming something of a rarity these days, whether it be driven by changes in societal, economic, or personal factors. To be honest, in the past few years, I haven't really given this much thought, although I was always aware of the fact that my friends who once had ambitious dreams of becoming musicians or architects slowly fading into pursuing studying things like accounting and finance was definitely happening. It really hit me just a few months ago when I was watching Zom 100. And believe me, I didn't think what looked like a typical zombie anime would give me revelations that actually might impact my future either. Zom 100 tells the story of Akira Tendo, a once young and aspirational university student who secured what he thought would be his dream job that ended up turning him into a tired and unaccomplished cog in the corporate machine. After 3 years of working there, Akira finds his saving grace being a sudden zombie apocalypse breakout, giving him the free time that he had lost over the hundreds to thousands of hours working overtime. With his newfound freedom, Akira decides to create a bucket list of stuff he wants to do before he becomes a zombie. And ironically, despite being surrounded by the dead, he's never felt so alive before. Throughout the show, we get introduced to many different characters that tackle the zombie apocalypse in different ways, whether it be those that accept Akira's worldview or those who only care about survival. On the surface, I'd like to say that this show makes a decent effort to stand out amongst the crowd in the zombie anime genre. I can't say I've seen a lot of zombie anime, but amongst icons like High School of the Dead or excellent parodies of the genre like Zombieland Saga, I think Zom 100 takes a fresh enough route to be considered as something I'd be willing to put my time into watching. Its premise, although pretty generic, is moved forward in interesting ways thanks to its colorful cast of characters that bring a different sort of energy to the show in general. Although the tropes that each character embodies aren't the most original things in the world, I think this mishmash of personalities does create some interesting and funny moments. But what I really want to touch on are the little things that the show does that truly sat with me for a long time and honestly inspired me to make this video and even look at life a bit differently. It's entirely possible that I'm reading into this show too deeply, or maybe I'm just saying things that may seem like common sense to some. But I genuinely do think that Zom 100's message doesn't lie with the happy-go-lucky atmosphere and mood that it uses throughout most of the show. Rather, I think it's the slow and meaningful moments that make this show shine the most, and those moments typically cover genuinely deep and relevant topics like what it means to be happy, or how a job can really affect a person's mental state or health. As a university student, all I hear people around me talk about is looking and applying for jobs that are far from what they truly want to be doing. And until quite recently, I too was in that headspace for a very long time, having completed internship after internship and getting good at things that I'm not actually genuinely interested in. I related with Akira in a lot of ways that I initially didn't really expect. Growing up, I'd always hear the saying, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, as advice for choosing a career. And yet I still hear countless stories from those same people talking about how tough and unfulfilling the majority of people's jobs are, but put up with it anyway. I understand that for an extremely large majority of people, myself included, that this sort of life is inevitable. Not everyone can do what they love, and it might just take something like a zombie apocalypse for someone to find the time and freedom to be able to truly do what they always wanted to do. I think Zom 100 is a visualization of the absurd position that society has put us in, where not even attempting to strive for your dreams is seen as something logical and be worthy of praise. Everything Akira goes through leading up to the zombie apocalypse, although is exaggerated, I think the fundamentals are still heavily grounded in reality. I can't speak for everyone, but I've definitely went through times where I was in a similar headspace as Akira in episode 1. On a side note, and speaking of episode 1, I do want to say that I think Zom 100 has one of the strongest first episodes I've seen in anime for a while. The direction of episode 1 of Zom 100 is almost perfection and genuinely is up there with some of the best single episodes I've seen in a long time. Overall, from an anime reviewer perspective, I think Zom 100 is a fine show. Looking at Zom 100 as an anime for the average viewer, it's definitely something anyone can enjoy for a pretty fun and casual experience with genuinely funny interactions, that happen over the course of the show. The animation is beautiful at times, and the direction sometimes goes above and beyond, becoming really creative and cinematic even though they didn't really need to be. But personally, Zom 100 was truly an experience that I will probably continue to think about even in the future. I can't promise this will be good advice, and quite frankly it goes against logic and reason given the world today. But if you're out there in the fortunate position of still being able to pick your life path, strive for your dreams and try to work towards something you truly love, whether it be making that song, writing that book, or even becoming an accountant if you're truly passionate about it. Having a dream is something precious, and make sure to cherish that forever. We may not be in a zombie apocalypse, but that doesn't change the fact that we've only got one shot at doing what we love, and there's no better time to start than now.